Let's get stuck into it with the big news of the day. The new New South Wales Premier Dominic Perrottet, who was sworn in today.
Today begins a new chapter for New South Wales, and one that we will all write together.
But of course, the media wasn't interested in Perrottet's plans for the state, only his religious convictions. They were in fact obsessed, fixated with his faith.
Dominic Perrottet is a devout Catholic.
I'm very proud of the fact that I have a strong Christian faith.
He's a committed Catholic.
Devout Catholics. He's anti-abortion, anti-same-sex marriage, even backing Israel Folau's right to post anti-gay statements.
I'm deeply concerned to see the LGBTI community supported under the new Premier.
And is a practising Catholic. He voted against decriminalising abortion in 2019.
To really hone in on the point, they decided to mention again and again how many children he has.
Dominic Perrottet, a father of six.
Father of six, Perrottet will be juggling his commitment to the state with his commitment to a big family.
Wife Helen, he's father of six, devout Catholics.
He's father of six. Perrottet is clearly aware his new job means he will miss family milestones.
He is married with 6 children.
And now, 6 of his own. And behind the pram.
You know, it can be hard when you've got a young family, that's true. But what you lose in time, you gain in perspective.
And Mr Perrottet will be juggling his commitment to the state with his commitment to a big family.
And of course, they had to demonise the new Premier as a big, scary Conservative. They basically condemned him as some sort of far-right whack job. Have a look at this.
Replacement on paper is far more conservative. Donald Trump was elected. Mr Perrottet called it a victory for people taken for granted by the elites.
As well as just a general mistake to dismiss him, that he's some sort of hardline ideologue that cannot, as now the leader of the state, take a broader view.
He opposed same-sex marriage and voted against decriminalising abortion.
Oh, dearie me. Mark Latham, I'm going to begin with you. Do you remember when hard right used to actually mean something? Now, anybody who's right of, I don't know, Stalin is demonised as hard right. Is Dominic Perrottet hard right?
Well, what's the evidence here? He's got 6 kids. I'm not too sure that's a political crime in any part of the world. His wife Helen's obviously a great woman. They're raising what looks a very happy, normal family. Isn't that the great Australian dream? So let's cross that one off as some sort of political thought crime. As for him being a Catholic, wow, we've never had a Catholic before as New South Wales Premier. Wacky doodah. Go back to Joe Carl, Jack Renshaw, Barry Unsworth, Nick Greiner, John Fay, Christina Keneally. Ho-hum that Dom Perrottet has a Catholic faith. And as for Alex Greenwich there, the boogeyman of worries about the LGBT community, Alex Greenwich is very scared of the idea that Israel Folau said that homosexuals are going to hell. Greenwich doesn't even believe in hell, let alone go there. So, you know, the level of confected outrage by these people is just off the radar. Let's bring things back to reality. Dom Perrottet would move easily inside the centre-right traditions of the Liberal Party. He had an endorsement from John Howard. He said that when the American people voted for Donald Trump, obviously a lot of that community felt left out of the political process. All of these things are very unexceptional observations, beaten up by the ABC, The Guardian, the Channel 9 network and newspapers into some sort of bogeyman that just doesn't exist.
Nick, even you must think this obsession with his faith is not only crazy, but politically stupid. There's a lot of socially conservative voters in New South Wales, a lot of them in the western suburbs, and surely you don't want to alienate them by pretending that if you hold these beliefs and if you're a family man, you're some weirdo.
Yeah, look, it's a very interesting point, Rita. There's certainly no doubt that he has been branded as that devout Catholic father of 6. It's almost every news story, including the one we just had on the hour here at Sky News, makes mention of that. So remember, Dominic Perrottet, he'll be well known to viewers of Sky News, people who follow politics closely, but most people in New South Wales, and certainly most people in Australia, will have hardly ever heard of the bloke prior to him elevating to the position of Premier. So him being branded as a devout Catholic father of 6 and being Premier of New South Wales is pretty much all most people probably know about him at this stage. So he will have a job. So his political opponents have probably succeeded in typecasting him. He's obviously a much more complex individual than just his faith and his number of children. But he has been sort of branded and to that extent boxed in. I'm not making any judgment over whether that's a good thing or a bad thing. I'm just making an observation about a political strategy which seems to have been executed against him. Now, look, I'm a Catholic myself, Rita, so I've got nothing against him for being Catholic. What will be the real test, though, is whether he's prepared to accept where the majority of New South Wales opinion lies when that doesn't align with his own faith, a faith which he is very devout in. So, he's anti-choice. We know that. He has avoided votes around decriminalisation of abortion. He's been not supportive of the extension of gay rights, and yet I think the community is very strongly supportive of these things these days. So the real test for him will come as to whether he's going to try and pursue some of these faith-based views that he's got, or whether he's respectful of the majority opinions of the people of New South Wales.
Rita, can I get
Mark,
branded
what do
with
you
these
think
things?
about that?
I'm volunteering to get branded with these things because if the branding is you believe in God and you've got a significant family life, well, that's probably 50% of the primary vote right there, isn't it? At least maybe 60% of the primary vote. We're talking about a Perrottet landslide, if that's the branding, Nick. The news out there in middle Australia, in middle New South Wales, in Western Sydney, marginal seats, middle-class people, is they love family life. We live for our families. That's a good thing. And if you happen to believe in God and you've got faith and you've got another force in your life that gives you values that are purposeful and decent, well, that's even better, for those people who hold that particular faith. So I'm volunteering for this branding. Can someone please give me this brand? I've got no religious faith. I obviously need one because it'll give me 60% of the vote in New South Wales. I can be the Premier.
Well, do you think it's fair, Mark, to say... But is it fair to say Perrottet is anti-choice?
2% of the voting population. 2% of the voting population. You're bagging a bloke who's got 60% in the bag. What are we talking about here?
But as we know, not every person who identifies as Catholic, like Nick, is going to be supporting a conservative like Perrottet. But is it fair to say he's anti-choice? Because from what I understand, the opposition to the abortion bill there were some radical elements in there. There's plenty of people who identify as pro-choice who have issues with late-term abortion, for example. So it's a bit more of a nuanced argument than some would have you believe, isn't it, Mark?
Yeah, well, I'm pro-choice and I voted against the bill on several grounds. The radical element you mentioned, Rita, and the fact that they were compelling doctors against their conscience to undertake what they regard as some form of murder. So I don't think you should do that in a free society. There's not a lot of choice in that. It was a bad bill that went through a 5-minute committee process in New South Wales. There were a galaxy of reasons to vote against it. And for people saying Perrottet was prominent in that debate, well, that's a falsehood. He gave one speech, a second reading speech in the lower house, and had no other activity. I was involved with a group across the political spectrum who are against the bill. He didn't feature in that. He lay low. He made his speech. He made his views known, mainly for the benefit of his own electorate, and then moved on. So I didn't see any sort of dedication from him to stop the bill. He had no organisational capacity or role other than making a single speech in the Legislative Assembly.